wrong flat. This flat belongs to Patrick Balfour. He's in Hong Kong and he lent me the key. Now get out.
How strange. I swear she said bye-bye, yet I still see your mouth flapping.
Oh my God, Toy Story, that's it, that's it. I love that movie. Oh.
There's only one rule. Are you ready? Ready? There are no rules. Go. Fruit, fruit. Tits, tits. Plant, plant. It's the fucking same.
You've got to be more imaginative, you know? Just think outside the box here.
Why aren't you on a diet?
Because I like to eat. Is that such a crime?
I don't give a damn about your personal issues. I just want to fix my daughter.
An ant has no quarrel with a boot.
You humans are so predictable.
Hello, everybody. We are Animation School, and today we have our traditional feedback to the animation of our now alumni from a foreign guest. The guest is Toniko Pantoja. My name is Sonia. I'm a student of Gobelin Arts, and today I'm gonna be your host and interpreter. Just in case, I have my personal YouTube channel, tell about the application to institutes, and you can find the link in the description. Hi, Toniko, we're very happy to see you here. And we also have here our gorgeous alumni, the alumni of our 2D animation course, Alina Trubacheva, Liza Kukunchikova, and Nikita Popov, and our gorgeous 2D animation mentor, Edward Kruczewski. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Toniko, that you agreed to participate in this event. Could you please tell a little bit about yourself?
Hey, guys. My name is Toniko Pantoja. I've been in the industry, I would say, since 2014 as a full-time. My first experience was at Dreamworks Animation Feature. But as, I don't know if Sophia said this, but I am CalArtian. I came from CalArts. But before that, I was actually at Sheridan College for 1 year, just basically learning how to draw. But ever since Netflix, I've been doing freelance for other studios. I've worked full-time as an animator for Tonko House up in San Francisco. And then I came back to Dreamworks again. Funny story about that is I got let go from Dreamworks 4 times and then came back 4 times within like a year or two because of Dreamworks is going through like a really weird time where they were bought off by NBC and projects were being scrapped. And, I was caught in that. So I left, but they're like, hey, we're starting this new project, come back. So I came back. But then after a while, I got an offer with Netflix and it sounded like a really cool opportunity. So I went there and I was there for like, I would say since 2019. So I would say like almost 2 years. Or over 2 years, I guess. But I left last August to basically just take a break and, focus on myself and my own projects, because I think right now is a good time for me to be able to explore that, to be able to see what else is out there besides working in a full-time studio. But yeah, I've been trying to just invest in more personal projects, whether that's teaching, whether that's, writing. I want to be able to explore that. I think, I mean, I probably like kind of said a lot during the first batch, but that's usually how I introduce myself.
Let's move on. I think it's good.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
So right now, thank you so much, Toniko, for telling us about yourself. And now we would like to get to know a little bit about our notorious alumni. So here is Nikita. Nikita worked in game industry for mobile phones and also social websites, social media. And also previously he worked as a 3D modeler, and now he continues to work in a game industry, but he would like to do something more interesting in the future. And recently he got promoted to become a lead animator. It's a great opportunity, but at the same time, even if he now is able to give feedback to other animation artists, and like the animation school actually was that very thing that helped him to get promoted.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You sound like a good, you sound like a good guy. You know, I think something I wanted to say, it's like, you said that you were animating less, but then like going to school kind of helps you stay motivated, and eventually that school also helps you get promoted. And that's really cool, because it's like motivation works differently for everyone. Like some people need the school, the community. Some people are just like, I'm going to work on a personal project. So that's what I would do. But, you know, doing a school like is great.
So Alina studies in Russian Institute of Cinema as an animation artist, and she tries to add a lot of courses to her education, and like the animation school, in her opinion, was a great decision, because for some reason she thinks that she still has to go through a big path for some stars, I would say, but she thinks that animation school helped her a lot to make the process of education a lot faster, and she is very grateful to the school itself and to Edward.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say, like taking a class to help further improve your skills to work on your personal project is very cool, and your own short film. Good luck with I can't wait till your short film is done, and feel free to share it with me too. I love seeing shorts from personal stuff, and good luck with like film festival circuits. Go on that filmfreeway.com and submit all your films to those festivals. That's a good site, by the way.
So Liza got a completely different profession, but she always was interested in drawing and animation, and always wanted to try her luck as an animation artist. And so she found us, and she hopes that eventually she will just change her job life.
Okay, so let's move on to our session, feedback session.
All right.
Hey, you know me. Wherever there's a woman that needs rescuing, I'm there.
Oh, okay, sweet. Share screen. Okay, here. Let me go through it, because I did see it earlier, and this is great, by the way. Like, this is all like good real material. I'm gonna go through like what I think, what I noticed first when I was watching it, first impression, then I can go back and see if there's anything specific. But you know, I think like all the stuff that you have is pretty solid, and it's like I think there's like some really good potential. I think this is great. I just think like some things can be pushed, especially in the acting department. So like for something like this, let me play it. So I think like for a scene like this, I think there could be you know, much more push drawing. So I think this drawing is pretty, when he says, "Hey, you know me." I'll let. So when I think about the acting choices, I really think about the eyes, because when you have the eyes just like open in a very standard pose, it starts to feel a bit still or inactive, or there's no current attitude. So when he says, "Hey, you know me," so sometimes I like to utilize eyelids. Yeah, I would say it's just like pushing the just a bit of the eye language and the asymmetry of like
Yeah,
the eyebrows. I think this all feels pretty good. I think when the character says, "Hey, you know me," so when I think about dialogue, I think it's also good to think about keywords in that line of dialogue to help emphasize some of the acting. So it's like, "Hey, you know me," and I feel like me. It's like when I look at dialogue, I start underlining some keywords that I can start thinking about key poses that relate to those words that help me for the acting. So when I heard the dialogue, "Hey, you know me," there's an emphasis on the me where I do want to push the acting. Yes. So the thing I wanted to say is that you had me, when the character says me, it's already like moving out and already moving away. So we don't get to feel a bit of that word. And this is just how I would approach it. It's not really like you have to do it this way. It's more like what my instincts are. So I think overall you have good instincts. But then like for me, like when I think about certain words or certain things in dialogue, I do just want to push it or stay in those acting poses or stay in that idea longer. I think this drawing is really good. And I think if you could like have a lot of the quality in this drawing and most of the acting, because I think like you might want to try and find ways to keep the character intact. So, maybe this character is very coy or very nonchalant, very casual. I think he'd be more, laid back and more loose. And even the eye language, like, this is great. This is just another idea, and this is something that like my friend Rune Beneke, a really talented animator, he would tell me these tips like, don't always have the character like straight up when they're acting, like maybe like have them angled and you kind of have that where there's kind of a, what's it called? Contrapposto, where it's like, the angle of like the shoulders and the hips and they're all like dynamic and contrasting. Not like don't push it like this, but it's more like just think about like everything is uneven, asymmetrical. Another thing that he also suggests that I've been kind of thinking more too is don't be afraid to have the eyes closed in a lot of these scenes. So like even like when the eyes are closed, that also helps push some of the acting because it doesn't feel, when the eyes are open all the time, things might feel a bit stagnant, and there's room for that. But then like especially for an acting dialogue scene, like sometimes when we tilt our heads forward, we don't really see our pupils. Like if I tilt down, it's just like mostly my eyelid, and I think that also makes things feel a bit more natural when if a character is kind of like looking down, you don't really see a bunch of the eyes, but just that subtle detail shows an observation of like life, and things like small observations like this makes the animation feel a lot more relatable and believable. Yeah, I'm just like seeing like, okay, holding that eye close, like and I would really push the, oh shoot, let me set that to race. Yeah, I would just like push the mouth shapes. I would probably, for this last pose, I probably wouldn't end at the mouth closed and up there. I'm there. I think it would be nice to just like end it at there. I mean, again, all these notes are just like, do. And then when he says I'm there, Maybe you could just add a little more explosion to that word just to emphasize that. So I think for here, no, I had the eyes mostly like closed or half open, but I think like something like this, I'm there. Maybe I can have the eyes open up for just a bit. And then it's like everything is like pushed and then it like slows. So yeah, I mean, those were just my initial thoughts with this. I think this drawing is also really good, by the way. This is great. If you have any questions, like feel free to ask me too, because sometimes that like when you have thoughts too, that also helps me.
I have a question. When you're working on the acting, do you use the references? Like, do you record yourself or you're searching for something?
Yeah, sometimes like either I like, first I'll try my imagination, but if like, usually in most cases I have a mirror, or sometimes I use my iPhone and just like go, you know. But the problem with me is I have the habit of making kissy faces when I act. So I'm like, well, it's like, when you need me, I'm there. And so I'm not the best reference for that. Sorry, when I flip back and forth, I'm just like thinking. So I think for something like this, because it all happened so fast, and this is a very dynamic shot, it's like, these tend to be also very difficult. What you did is a really good job, by the way. And again, I think it's just like, oh, what if you did some of these ideas? So I think for something like this, I think this is here. I think it's because it's so quick. Maybe I'm missing something. So I think this is pretty good. I'm just trying to see. Like what you have is it's technically right, but sometimes like what I would do, so she kicks with that foot, is maybe I would, I'm just trying to think, maybe a part would have actually this foot up, the foreground, and then this foot is like the one that's like extended. I'm just like thinking here, like maybe, but I might also be wrong here. Where, because I'm trying to think, like I want that switch to feel really pushed and exaggerated. Oh shoot, I actually deleted it. It's just like that switch, you feel it a bit more in those quick frames, instead of it like casual, like you know, evenly smoothing into the next pose. I was thinking like even those like brief moments, just like have that switch. This is an awesome drawing. I love this pose that you have, by the way. It's cool.
Это клево.
Yeah, I sometimes just draw over just to learn, like, ooh, this is an inspiring pose. I like it. Oh, okay. So I thought of something. So I think what could make this more dynamic is so something one of my mentors told me is that when it comes to like staging for animation or design for animation, it's okay to not show everything or not show clear silhouettes. Sometimes it's good to have something pop in or pop out. You want to translate that, or should I? I'll do the draw over. So it's like maybe her arm could be used to hide some of that head. You could even really push the foreshortening if you wanted to. So like it also creates a nice whipping sense of contrast when, let's say, the character, you get a nice it's like this is a squash pose. This is the stretch pose where everything is fully extended. And if you want to, maybe you can add like a I'm kind of like favoring this drawing and then having maybe that's not appropriate. Yeah, I'm just like thinking like how you could like push some of the shots. So I think what this, I feel like the timing in this shot, I think her kicking this dude it's kind of fast, and I'm just like wondering if there's a way to make this a bit more readable. So there's like two different scenarios we can come up with here, because I'm looking at the arcs. So the arc that you have, she kind of goes up, but I think for me to justify that arc, I would actually like have maybe a few more key poses where it's like maybe you hold into this idea more. So, and then you really feel her push this guy down as she shoots up. So it's kind of like she's in midair and she pushes. So that's one idea that you can go with. Maybe I made it go too high. I think what you had is pretty good. So that it's just like, so we can feel the impact. So it's like kick, but her foot is still stuck on the guy, and then she pushes off. So that's like one idea. Okay, so I have a thought on this. So as soon as she lands, and because I would say like as soon as like she hits the guy again or lands on him, I would stretch. It's like squash. I'm like squashing her more, and then she can then slow pose and then settles. So it just feels a bit more elastic. So it's like as soon as the impact and then settles. That's pretty much it. Like, boom. And then you kind of like go to this pose into there. So it's like that nice squash and then settle. I think that's one of the ways I would do it. And the other way I was talking about for this one, and let me know if I'm going over time, by the way, because
I think we can move on.
Okay.
Quite soon. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to say like everything is good. Just think about like, more organic or more naturalistic acting for the last one. I don't like just more things that feel more like it came from life or observation. This one, I don't really have notes on there. It's great. This one's a good shot. Definitely put it in your reel. I think I think those are my big keynotes for this one. Awesome. I guess we'll move on to, is that?
It's Nikita.
Nikita.
Yeah. Let's show his reel first.
Yeah, I think these are great tie downs. You have very solid drawing skills. Actually, all the reels I've seen so far, you guys were way better than I was as a student. Something a bit unnatural. I'm just wondering what this acting could be. And of course, like the thing with acting is that it's subjective. I think everyone has like a different approach to acting, and also culture. I think culture definitely affects acting choices too. Yeah, I'm not trying to change the acting. I'm more so trying to see how I could make what you have work stronger. So I think her torso could be leaning away from us. So just to justify, or could be hiding her face. It depends. So there's just a bit more weight as she's leaning on this leg. Just pushing her knee out. So there's that. Another acting choice. Maybe her hand is also up there too. I think this is all good. Yeah, I don't really have notes for that part. Is this for a short film?
Nikita and his friends make a game together, so it's basically a content for his game.
Got it. Okay.
Oh, I know.
I'm just thinking for these ideas. Also, sorry if it feels like I'm just like doing nothing and just like flipping back and forth. It's just like me thinking. I'm just trying to think of ways to make this a bit more natural. I think like a thing that a lot of animators, and I'm not saying like beginner animators, but even like professional animators tend to do is limbs are out just for the sake of silhouette or just for the sake of being out. So I think I think this acting pose. And probably wouldn't have her limbs all up out there all the time. It's okay to like have things a bit more contained. Yeah, so I think this could use like a bit more contained acting choices or more contained. Because the animation is, it's already really good. Like the basics are good, or everything, the fundamentals you already have a strong understanding of. But when I was a second year at school, one of the things they told my mentor told me to work on was a sense of control, meaning what to push or when to push things and when not to push things. So when you have like some more controlled or subtle poses, and then you have like a big explosive one, it creates more more dynamic or contrasting ideas. So things feel like you're emphasizing certain things rather than just like everything or a few. So I think another thing you can think of is a bit of an overlap in not just like things like the hair or the clothes, but also in like body movement. So let's say if you look at my camera, when I shift around, it's like my head is kind of shifting too. Just this helps like create things a bit more organic. So, and this is kind of what I'm thinking for something like this. Like this is what you have here is really good already. Just to like really feel the drag. Because it's like, also the reason why I'm thinking of this is because I feel like this idea is good and I want to sort of favor it or kind of read this idea. And in order for me to do that, I kind of want to create a breakdown that kind of helps me read this idea a bit more. Not saying like have this drawing hold, but more so like the idea of that drawing lingers because the other drawings kind of favor that. Just so things just feel a bit, there's a bit more of a drag. That's all. I think I'm just gonna do spots. I'm just trying not to stall because I tend to do that. So I think for this one, as soon as she hits on the floor, the thing is that as soon as you land on the floor, it's like you kind of want to absorb a bit of that fall. So there's just a bit more weight in it. Like I would probably just have that a bend just a bit, just so you feel like the down pose. Her arm kind of hangs on there for quite a while. So I actually would start moving it through because it was just like out there for quite a while. And I think it doesn't really add anything if you just have it out there for too long. And I kind of just want to like, you know, have that momentum shift. And I'm just going to have her wrist foreshorten the camera. I think this is pretty good. Naturally, like when something like this happens, because it catches me off guard, I'd be like, holy crap. Or more like caught off guard. So I think she feels really controlled here. And I'm just wondering if there's a way to sort of make her feel way off balance. You know, it's kind of like you could have it flail. So she's way more off balance when she lands, because I think she lands pretty composed. Oh, oops. Maybe one arm kind of goes down, or you could do that. I'm just like thinking like what could be composed better. So maybe it's this hand that lands, but then this hand kind of stays on top. But I would, so personally, what I would do in the future is I would like thumbnail a bit more about like some of the acting with when she falls, because it kind of takes her off guard. So, you know, I would like explore, okay, if she fell off balance, maybe she actually fell in both. And then she has to like scramble upwards. So it's just like, there's the thing with like, again, acting and thumbnailing is there's just so many possibilities. I spend like so much time just like trying to think about like, this is cool. That's slow-mo. Yeah, I think I would have this arm down. So like, instead of like having that hand up all the time, you could have like, you know, dip down, and then as it slows to this pose, that's when you can have that hand come up. So it's kind of like, it feels different from the previous pose. Also, I would say it's okay to like just foreshorten things a bit. Like even for this hand, like I'm even making it go behind her. This is pretty good. A lot more foreshortening, so things feel just a bit like it's coming towards us. And then just one more. I'm not going to draw the whole body, but it's like then you can have this. Oh, whoops! Nope, I'm not going to do that one. So it's like when her hand comes towards us, then we really feel it. The silhouette come like that. So it's like far and then like that. Just so it's a bit more dynamic. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. I mean, this acting, this whole body action scene, it's so difficult to do, and I think you did a terrific job. So I think these are good. I don't think I'm gonna do jaw overs here. I think this is great, but I think like maybe the hair just a very subtle or small like overlapping, just so we can get a sense of the weight in that hair as she walks, even like tiny details like that. So I think this scene technically works really well. And I think for like, I want to really feel that impact of the last frame. So I would actually like kind of go the anime route where it's like she's far and then she's kind of coming closer to us. So, just a bit more foreshortening. And then it's like when she comes towards us, it's like really, really big. You can even make it bigger because it happens so fast. I'm not sure how to draw this character, but like really make her come towards the screen, make her like pop right at us. Like this is just so that the feeling of her starting from really small and coming towards us feels like it just blows up in our face. And this is what I mean by like animation and design. It's not just like making sure the arcs work well and all that, but it's also like using the framing of the shot like as an element of design where you can really be playful with the composition. The great thing about this is that you can be a bit more abstract too. Like this could appear for just like one frame, and it's just like, so it just like feels a bit more like, whoa, your face. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think that's really the only feedback I can give. It's more about like thinking about the the overlaps. I would say you don't always have to have the arm out all the time. Don't be afraid to be also more stylistic, especially with dynamic shots. And this is also like when I saw the last reel, it's like, be a bit with dynamic things that happen so fast. Be playful, be a bit more experimental, and have like little frames where it's just like, how does that make sense? But whatever. What matters is you feel the impact of the drawing. That's pretty much it. Great work overall. Good stuff, Nikita.
Nice. Do you have, Nikita, any questions?
No, I haven't. Thank you.
The first example that you had reminds me of my friend's work. I don't know if you know her. Her name's Nadia Mira. But like this kind of like reminds me of her stuff. And this one's great. I think I have a lot of I don't really have notes on it. This is great. Great use of like smears and yeah, like everything just feels really dynamic. Like that shot is awesome. But what could I would say, I mean, I think it's just like a few drawings really. Because you have like some really nice foreshortening thing going on. Where this feels good. And then I was wondering like maybe it could even be a bit more stylized where it's like her head is like here, but then like her thighs and her legs are going to be like really foreshortened just so that it kind of, you have that forced perspective. Yeah, even her arm could like hide just a bit of her torso too. And I would probably exaggerate it a bit more just so it really feels that, but that's about it. This is great too. So this one for me, it's a bit hard to talk about because also it's like, it's like I always talk about push the acting, but something you also have to realize is, does the art style call for it? And that's something that's like always really hard for me to talk about. Okay, so for some reason it didn't import the sound in this. So I think overall this is really good, really controlled. It's not it's not all over the place. I think it's like the right amount of everything. Yeah, so the reason why I said like it's so hard to talk about like how to push certain acting in a certain style, because it's like if I let's say did this to the character, does that work? That's always a very hard thing to talk about. Like, does the design actually call for it? But maybe this is just like things that maybe you could think about. It's like, it's always about the eyes. Really, if you're gonna have like subtle acting, like really push the eyes. I really like how this style looks, even without the eye notes that I gave. I think there's something very appealing about this look. And it's like, I'm wondering if there are ways so that you could have like, have like this idea different from this idea. Maybe it's pushing the eyes, maybe it's pushing the silhouette. Or maybe it's also pushing the shoulders a bit more. Again, infinite possibilities. You know, it kind of reminds me of like Over the Garden Wall, like this character design.
It is from the Garden Wall.
Is it her? Is it a character design from it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. It's been a long time since I saw that show. But okay. No, it's great. So yeah, I mean, it's hard because it's like, does like the whole Disney acting sensibility work in a design like this? And you know, my response would be like, no, you can't really force that on a style that doesn't really call for it. It's kind of like trying to animate like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon and a Disney style. They were designed for like limited or flat animation. And if you were to do that if you were to animate that in a Disney style, it's like, well, sure, it looks fundamentally good, but I don't think it does the design justice because they were designed in very specific ways. So yeah, that's just my thought on that. I think this is great, by the way. So yeah, I think so for this shot, I feel like the drawings could use work in terms of showing the character actually getting impact, or you know, really feeling that there's weight being pressed against like a surface. So because I was gonna say like how you have it kind of doesn't feel like there's a surface under her, or maybe something's off with the perspective. I would actually, so because these happen so quick, I would actually like push that C gesture just a bit more. Just so, you know, there's like a ricochet. Oh, whoops. I don't know how to draw feet. I'm a fraud. Hands and feet, I can't draw properly. I'm not a true draftsman. I think the ideas are pretty, they're right. I think you have the right ideas of like having the character twist. I'm just wondering, so if the character's facing that way, maybe her gluteus maximus, her butt, basically, might be facing more towards us. So you really feel that twist. Even these are just ideas. They're not like, yeah, official. They're just like, oh, what if you thought this way? But yeah, so I think you're being really safe with you know, showing where the character's actually getting the impact, and it's really just drawing things. Like, you know, one quick way is to just straighten the parts where she is landing. So because you have it really round, it doesn't feel like she's hitting a surface. So I'm trying to find ways if I can part of her hand actually hitting the surface. Yeah, just like it's kind of like the floor sack all over again. Think about the floor sack, everyone. That's what all Disney animation teaches. They love the floor sack to God. They're just like, oh, that is our God, the floor sack. So, but it's like, yeah, you know, really find ways to show that this character is really being pressed against the surface. So like, okay, I noticed her hand goes behind her. I would actually just seeing everything. Part of me would actually this is a really good idea. gesture. But this is also, I tend to make sound effects when I like look for animation. I'll just go so that I could feel it. That's just me. But yeah, I would like for something like this, because she came from the foreground, maybe like her pose here could just also be just a bit, just a tiny bit like more towards the foreground too. Just so that there's a bit more depth. Yeah, like just a bit of foreshortening. But other than that, it is it's a solid reel. I mean, all you guys did solid reels. Again, way better than I was a student. When I was a student, you know, I was a mess. But yeah, just like these are just small notes, like super tiny notes. And this is just for everyone here. It's just like, you know, really flip through and watch the spacing, because it's like, you know, when she breathes this in, notice how like she stops and then she like jolts back up. So I would honestly like have another in between here and in here, because it kind of looks like she just pauses. So constantly rolling and flipping through your drawing so you can just see, oh shoot, like the nose here goes 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's like there's a huge spacing here, and that's fine. So yeah, I mean, the only thing I wanted to say is like spacing stuff, it can always be fixed. But then like the whole acting and the idea stuff, it's like, as long as that's good and as long as it has an impact, it's good. But yeah, it's like, that's the most common note that I have for all the reels I saw. It's just like really pay super close attention to the spacing. And once that's out of the way, it's like, oh shoot, okay, this person has control. They have good ideas too, but they also have a good sense of control in their animation. And overall, like, this is really good stuff that you guys have. I think those are my notes, and I hope that's good. Yeah, I'll stop sharing.
Alina, do you have some questions?
Could you please give us beginner animators an advice? So are there any ways of pushing our animation abilities? So how we can improve like our quality of work like this?
Yeah, there's there's a lot, because you know, it's not just like working on like one thing. Like you could do acting assignments, you could do studies where it's like, oh, here's a subtle one of the teachers gave me an assignment where it's like, you know, think about an emotion like happy. How do you draw the level 1 version of happy, and how do you draw the level 10 version of happy? Like, so that's a way to control acting. There's so much, like because it's like, you know, sometimes you want to do different things so you kind of see a different perspective. So what I like to do sometimes is I grab like live action footage of like things I can find YouTube and just study them frame by frame. Sometimes I would just like copy the frames. Let me see if I can find an example of that, if I still have it somewhere. Because you know, some of that teaches me like, okay, I don't constantly have to think about the motion, but it also shows me, oh shoot, like there's some subtle things happening here that I wouldn't realize from something from live action. Like all these really subtle nuances, and suddenly becomes natural to you. So you know, that stuff kind of helps. Oh shoot. Sometimes like I would like get movie clips. So I would like study random clips. I'm like, oh, I want to try and animate this. So like I'll like watch it, and then you know, when I'm watching it, I'll like go frame by frame. So like let's say every 2 frames or every 4 frames, I forgot how to like move a frame. Is this it? Yeah. So oh shoot, no, it's not that. And so I would like skip every 3 frames. So like, 4 frames and then 4 frames and then the next 4 frames, and then I would like actually like copy it frame by frame, not rotoscope, just copy, and then I would just like do a live action study just to understand like motion, just to learn but not think, which is kind of weird when you think about it, just so that I can see things in a different perspective.
Yeah, I just wanted to just add that it's a very good example, I think, to keep the flow, to learn by doing, but not thinking, like as you say,
Yeah, it's like life drawing.
Yeah, it's like relaxing in a way, and also like keep you practicing. It's very interesting.
Because it's like super tiring to always like think acting. I gotta make those nice beats, gotta think about clear acting, and it's so tiring. And sometimes you're just like, I want to have fun with animation again, but I don't want to think. Well, there's this. But yeah, I mean, another thing that was just is like do acting studies where maybe animate to sound clip or music. I like animating to music because I'm bored of dialogue scenes sometimes, but with music it's like, oh, it's song, it's challenging, maybe there's a beat that I can animate to. Anything that can help me like really be have fun but also be creative. So acting assignments like 11-second club, I used to do that as a student a lot. I haven't done it in such a long time. Are you guys familiar with it?
It's like every month, right? Every month is a challenge.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe we can share it with our students and also here in the chat. Maybe you can send us in the chat a link. What do you get if you win this challenge? Is like some of animators will give you feedback, or just they share it?
You can choose to just share it, or some people just get like a professional animation mentor e-critique. I've never won any of those. Because I mean, personally, like, I think like, I don't know how I feel like another critique from a professional feels as a prize. I feel mixed about it, to be honest. I would honestly like maybe interview with the person might be better. And I think they've done that with a few people, but if it's just like another critique, it's it could be more of the same. But I think
if you're already professional, right, so maybe it's for the beginners to motivate them, to participate.
So I think it's different, because I remember when I was a student, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like a pretty good prize. But then at the same, now that I'm a professional, it's like, I want to get to know the student more. I want to get to know the artist behind it. Like, what was their thought process? How did they do it? What was their, how did they thumbnail? Like, stuff like that. I would love to read more so than someone else's critique, because you get, even when it comes to critique, it can also stem from bias, which is very dangerous. Like, if, let's say, someone gave me a student work, I'm like, no, this is not how you're supposed to do it. In Disney, you learn it like this. I've never worked at Disney, so that's also like terrible. So I think it's always good to have a mix of things. I love seeing like interviews of like, how did you do this sort of thing? But a critique, it's meant to be taken with a grain of salt or not.
Okay. Do you have any more questions, guys?
Toniko, may I ask you if who were your teachers at Clarence? I'm just very curious.
Oh yeah. So my first year teacher was Scott Wright. He teaches at SCAD now, but he used to work under James Baxter. He was my favorite teacher because he was not the type, he knew the 12 principles and he wanted everyone to understand their mechanics, but he didn't want everyone to animate in a certain style. Like he's one of the people that showed, oh, here's a cool thing that I found. It's Pocoyo. Oh, here's this weird obscure animation. Oh, look at this. I think because of him, like I got into the Soviet era animation like rabbit hole where it's like, whoa, watching the one with the cat There's like a really cute cat. I forgot, it's like called Bark the Cat or something like that. Super cute. Cutest design of a cat. But then it's like he gave like really fun assignments. Like one of the assignments he gave was like he showed us a children's picture book, and he's like, how would you adapt this into animation? Go for it. And it's like, oh shoot, like, you know, you can be creative, you can, you know, think about a suitable style that works. But he was also a very hard teacher. I remember he told me at the end of the school year, he said to me, he said, Toniko, everyone thinks you're a decent animator, but I don't think you are. And that made me like really, really want to work super hard in finessing my animation skills. So that was my first year teacher. My second year teacher was Sue Croyer. She's the wife of Bill Croyer.
Oh.
You know, she was in the Fern Gully days. My third year teacher was James Lopez. We call him J-Lo. Like, hey, J-Lo, no, you know, come to class dancing. But it was sad because his class was late at night, 7 to 10 p.m. So we always came in sleepy and falling asleep in front of him. So that was our third year teacher. He worked at Disney for a while. And then our fourth year teacher was Randy Haycock. He was just more about the acting, like how to bring the character. Like think about all these, it's like when you think about the characters, think about their age, think about their occupation, think about what they do for a living and you know, their mental state. And it was more of like in-depth character acting class. I was gonna say, I wish I could show you guys my first year demo reel because it's really bad, but that was the last year we shot all of our assignments in VHS tapes. We saw it VHS in 2010. It was the worst.
Wow.
It's like a tape. Really?
Yeah,
it is tape. Yeah.
It is tape. Like, because it's like the way he did it is we had this machine called the Lunchbox, which is like, it's a down shooter. It's a clunky metallic down shooter. And then you put the VHS tape in a player and then you hit record. And then you play your pencil test in the lunchbox, and then you come to class and you find out it didn't record at all. Your teacher's like, you didn't do the homework, get lost.
Wow. I have a question from the chat. So Toniko, what was your favorite project to work on?
Definitely, I would say when I was at Tonko House, Dam Keeper Poems, because the studio itself was very small. It's like the size of a kitchen. And so there was a lot of transparency and everyone was super supportive of each other. And even my director was willing to give us chances to like go beyond like, oh, can you want to take on this, want to do this? And you really felt like you had a part in it. So that was one of my favorite, I think that's like my favorite experience so far because, you know, I felt like I could contribute more than just like, oh, I'm another animator.
Okay, so question, where are you from? Did you study in CalArts by scholarship?
I'm actually from the Philippines, but I grew up in Indonesia. So I have a pretty mixed background of growing up. The reason why I was able to go to CalArts was because I had the money at the time. My parents had the money at the time. And it was also kind of a part of my inheritance. Like they're like, this is going to be from your inheritance, you know that? I'm like, okay, thanks so much for that, by the way, to my parents. Because that school is brutally expensive. A lot of like art schools in the United States are not worth the price. I'm going to say it flatly, not worth the price. But I didn't do scholarship because every time like I tried looking for a scholarship, they were like really specific in what they wanted to do it. So I think for me, I was fortunate enough for that.
Good. So another question: what software do you use when you do 2D animation? Like usually.
Yeah. So my usual go-to is TV Paint because it's just like so fast and raster and things don't glitch out like a vector program. I'm pretty sure most of you know that. So for this project that I'm currently on, I'm for myself, it's a personal project. I'm using Toon Boom because the old version I used to animate in Adobe Flash, or now it's called Adobe Animate. And it is I stopped using it because I just couldn't deal with drawing it anymore. It was painful. So TV Paint and Toon Boom are my usual go-tos. Although for the iPad, for those who like to try and animate in the iPad, I use this one called Rough Animator.
So my personal question: do you do you know there is a lot of companies or projects in the United States who work in TV Paint?
Well, when I worked on Damn Keeper Poems for Tonko House, that's TV Paint.
Okay.
Actually, like when I did animation tests for Kipo, for back at Dreamworks, we have TV Paint licenses for all the animators there. Same with Netflix, like there's like TV Paint licenses there too. Because we don't really do 2D animation in-house for like the final productions. It's more like character exploration or special case animation where it's like a short little sequence or so. But Harmony is still like the mainstream, the industry standard for especially in TV productions.
Yeah.
Because it outsources everywhere. But TV Paint, I guess there's like smaller US studios that use it. I'm just trying to think of some. I know no Powerhouse, they usually use Toon Boom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think it's it's understandable. Yeah. I have another question from the chat. How long have you studied animation and drawing before entering the animation industry?
So I actually started like learning how to make cartoons during the Newgrounds days. So that's like the mid 2000s, where it was like the online animation scene was still very indie and still very small. Now it's like everyone knows about animation and the resources to get, and even industry people are involved in the online community, but it wasn't like that before. So I was actually teaching myself how to like make stuff in Flash, and maybe I can like find some old high school work that I have to show you what that's like. So I actually started technically, when I was a teenager. I would say like 15 to 16 years old. But then I didn't consider studying animation as a career until later high school. And then I think after then I went to Sheridan, then Cal Arts. But I started when I was 15. Yeah. So here's a sample of like something that I made back when I was in high school. I would say it's pretty ambitious for when I was a kid, but it's like, I was learning how to make cartoons. I made one about a penguin. I never finished it. But it's like, I was teaching myself how to like make things in Flash 8. I think that's what I was using back then. Oh, look, Hotmail, my old Hotmail email. I would put in all my cartoons back then. So I was actually like teaching myself how to animate with like Flash. And the thing is, like, that community was so small and we were just like collecting resources because there was no animation schools like this. Everyone was just like doing word of mouth, or they found stuff on online forums and they were talking about, things like that. And I just wanted to show you a few more stuff because it's kind of like, what it was like learning animation as a high schooler back in the mid 2000s. So, I was like learning how to animate stick figures at the time. Like I was also a really violent kid. I thought it was funny and cool. Let's make things bloody. And then like I was like learning how to actually like do frame by frame animation, like just to learn it. And of course, it's like this is after watching Spider-Man 3. I was like, that Venom scene was terrible. I want to do better. But yeah, I mean, I was just like, this is the last thing. No, I made so many weird things. Like I made like music videos. Like, look at this. Ooh, yeah, those pauses. It's so embarrassing to watch this, but it's so funny to talk about this because it's like, wow. And look, I was being stylish with the transitions here. Look how many
Yeah,
cuts.
but look, yeah, these cuts and composition is wow.
Yeah, I mean, I was
the
like
camera movement, man.
I was like learning how to move cameras. I played Shadow of the Colossus a lot, so I was like, bloom lighting. I gotta have bloom lighting everywhere. I think this is the last thing I made when I was like 18. This is like I want to make a very serious piece, and I want to like try like making a finished, nice looking production. Of course, I never finished it because that's high school. We procrastinate. We're just like, this is stupid. This is too much work. Why do we want to do this? But I think like I've always had the ambition to make things. And I give credit to that to when I entered CalArts because I had that experience of making stuff. So when I worked on student films, it's kind of like I already had it wired into me of what that experience is like. So for me, I would say I've been in it for a long time, but I never really consider it as an option. Anyway, sorry, I trailed off from there. I tend to go down these memory lanes.
Mm-hmm. I have another question. Did you have like a burnout, like in your life, and how you mentioned to get out?
I have burnouts all the time. But that's also because, I have burned out. I get burned out thinking about my career, my placement, or what I want to do. And it's not just like burnout because I'm putting all this energy into work, but it's also burnout because I'm also lost in thought. I'm gonna pause because I know I tend to. I mean, there's many ways you can deal with burnout. One is to do something that's fun, like if you're drawing or animating, draw something that only you would like, and not thinking about if it's the right thing to do, but more like if it's for yourself, or just take step away from the thing that's burning you out, and maybe just do something else. Like it's also good to relax the mind from that, because you do need to recharge.
So another question, do you have something that you don't like in the industry? For example, in Russia, like area, like sometimes people think that animation is for kids, and for example, something like that.
Yeah, I think I'm honestly mixed about animation as a medium, because it's like, yeah, animation is not a genre. We can tackle both adult to children's stuff. Look at anime, like they're tackling so many different things. Especially like when you work in a major studio, it's like you're constantly told about certain things you can or cannot do, because they want to aim for a general audience or family oriented stuff. And although there are like adult animated stuff, it's still very hard, because there's adult animated productions that are adult because they have sex, violence, and cursing. And it's like, well, I think there needs to be a blur where adult animation is also about dealing with very hard themes, or ideas, good versus bad, or sexuality. Like discovering one's sexuality is a very adult thing that everyone kind of goes through. So yeah, I was gonna say that, like, but I'm also not super serious about animation. And there are people who are like, animation should be this. If this is not animation if it's not this. So it's like animation has to have like talking animal characters, or I remember being in an argument with someone who's worked in the industry for a long time, and his argument was like, if you don't see yourself as an actor, you aren't an animator. And for me, I'm like, well, not every animator sees themselves as actor. And of course, like, I have a bias of like what an actor is and what animation is, and to assume that we're something isn't fair for everyone. And deep down, I'm just like, animation is how you guys want to think of it. You can't really enforce someone else's version of what animation is to someone. Anyone who does that, I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna step away. This makes me not want to do animation.
Okay, I have two more questions only. So the first of them, it's you say that it's good to push the animation and to push drawings to make them more stylized. When exactly you think better to push and stylize the drawings and character?
Like when to push certain actings, right?
When, yeah, in what situations, for example?
Okay, that's a good one, because again, there's a lot to talk about, but I think my instant reaction is, what is the idea? What are some of the key ideas that I want to push in that? Like, so let's say if it's a dialogue scene. So let's say the dialogue is, hey, you are a butthole. So I will probably like look at some of the words that best represent the, where I could push the expression. So when someone says, hey, you're a butthole, maybe like that word butthole, I could use that as a part where I could like really push the expressions and really hammer in that word so you can feel it. It's more so about like, feeling the idea more so than like should you push things here and there. It really depends on the context too. Like, and that's kind of why like I do key poses first, just to figure out where the key elements are, and I would push those drawings the most. It's really just a matter of like what are the feelings and what are the expressions of the ideas you want to push. That's how I think about it. Sometimes it helps like when I think about scenarios to better give a better answer. Also, something I wanted to add, it's not just a matter of like pushing things, it's also trying to find the very specific thing that you want. I think that's also a very key part, because let's say the character's angry. Okay, there are many ways you can draw anger, and there are many different personalities or perks that comes with anger. Is it anger with like, a grimace? Is it anger but with sadness? Is it anger but with pain? And all of these are like different ideas of what anger can be. So honestly, I would recommend just like thumbnailing the same key pose and just keep exploring different variations of that one key pose to see if you can get something that's specific. And it's not just a matter of like exaggerating poses. I would say it's more about the specific, or the how nuanced, or how, the very small details of it that make it feel super readable.
Okay, and the last question, like more general maybe, do you know something about animation industry in different countries? For example, in Canada, you like US, Europe, and what's difference for you, like main difference in these countries, like maybe different approach or different, I don't know, like way of doing animation?
Oh, there's a lot to talk about, but I don't really have a lot of experience working in other countries. I mean, I did freelance, but that was for a studio here when I was in the Philippines, so I don't think that would count. I mean, when I talk to other people who work in the industry up there, it's more, they're more focused on the production, whether that's animation. So first of all, more of the production side of things is done overseas compared to here, where it's just like we do the pre-production stuff and we send it off. So
Yeah.
I would say that's the first key takeaway from that.
Я могу привести, то есть вопрос был какой?
I was gonna say something like, there's a lot of people in the industry here that don't really know how to animate, because there's really barely or no jobs for animation. It's all just like storyboarding and stuff.
And maybe
So,
VizDev, right?
VizDev, character design.
And actually, that's why you're saying that in US people more making the pre-production, and then they just I would say send it to the Europe or the Asia to make a production.
Yeah, or like to do cleanup work. I know. I mean, Powerhouse Animation Studios in somewhere in Texas, like they still animate stuff over there, but then I know they will send it off to a Korean studio for coloring and in betweening. But yeah, there's, especially here, like not everyone knows how to animate. It's actually kind of a rare skill in this generation.
So you think like animation school, school in Europe, it's much stronger, right? In terms of the skills than in US.
I think there's a lot more like people who can actually animate and do things. And there are some like really good animators here for sure. Like especially from school, there are students who are exceptional. So I think it's like more so like we see more good animation from Europe or from Asia, more so than like, then I'm only strictly speaking from 2D animation point of view. And there are some places here, but they're not as popular. Like, I think, so there's a school here called Laguna College of Art and Design. The 2D animation program is really, really good. And all the students there can animate really well, but no one really knows them because they're not as popular as like Cal Arts or Sheridan or Ringling or SVA. But they have a really good animation program. So it's just like, there's a lot of things that I personally don't know about.
I think with questions we are done. So Sophia, you can say the final word.
So guys, Toniko, thank you so much for coming to this event and giving us feedback. It was a wonderful experience, and I believe that our alumni at the same time as audience got lots of cool advices and had lots of fun watching you giving feedback to guys. Thank you so much for coming today, and thank you to Toniko, Edward, and all the alumni here. It was wonderful to see you. Goodbye.
Thanks for having me. This is really inspiring. You guys are awesome. Like, your work was great. So please keep it up.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Hello everyone, this is Animation School. My name is Edward Kurchevsky, and I'm professional 2D animator based in Paris.
Bobby, would you care for a piece of pie?
I studied animation over 10 years in one of the top schools in the world, and now I'm ready to share my knowledge with you. In the past 4 years of teaching, my students achieved remarkable results and working in studios like Cartoon Salon, Skiad, studying in schools like L'Aubin, l'École de l'Image and Cal Arts.
I'm not sure what we've got here, Charlie. But if we've got what I think we've got something.
Our goal is to prepare qualified professionals in a short amount of time during our intense course. We are here to also create a bridge between you and studios and help you find your first professional position in industry. Online studying became one of the most important parts in worldwide education system, and I am pretty sure with us you will achieve great results. Good luck!